Had to get everything in place. Flip the camera around. Now we will start filming our braised beef. Talk about the border crisis as we go along with it. All right, step number one, we're going to be preheating our oven to 350 degrees. Step number two, we have our 2.5, actually no, this is 3.2 pounds of beef bottom rounds. So this is over 50 ounces of wholesome steak. I guess it's not steak, but it is beef. And what we're gonna do, oh, that's some nice fat that we got on the backside. Make sure I'm gonna cook it like that so the fat seeps through on the bottom. All right, so we're gonna put this to the side. We are going to salt our meat on both sides. So let's pull back and talk through the steps that we need. This is not going to take a tremendous amount of effort. This is a little bit of a set it and forget it type dish, but it does take a little bit of work to pre-prep it. So we're gonna put salt on the front of it. We're gonna put some pepper on the front of it. And we're gonna flip it around, do the same thing. And then we're gonna get some oil and flavors, nice and toasty, in our Dutch oven that my girlfriend got me for Christmas. Got a notification saying her Christmas gift finally arrived. Hopefully it's in better condition than the first two times it arrived, where somebody clearly who did not speak English for their first language tried to improperly assemble it. So I've not had a chance to check the mail since hustling back from my massage today. But we'll see how V3 looks. Okay, so we're going to season all sides of this beef slab, just because if we think about the ratio of volume to surface area, there is a lot of volume and not a ton of surface area on this slab. So I'm not going to be worried about over seasoning it the way you can worry about over seasoning a steak. All right, so now we're gonna season the fat cap. This fat cap really excites me. I think I'm gonna leave that fat cap on top, let it cook through to the bottom. Okay, so we got seasoning on all sides of the beef. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna chop up an onion. And if you have garlic, garlic is also good to add to the bottom. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to put some oil, put a little bit more oil, be liberal with the oil, at the bottom of this Dutch oven. This Dutch oven apparently works very similarly to a cast iron. So we're going to turn that on and then we're going to start cutting our onion. I'm going to dice it. Remove the skin. And as I'm dicing the onion, let's talk about the chaos that's going on at the Texas border. So if you've been under a rock for the last couple days, what has happened is there's been a little bit of a game of cat and mouse between Greg Abbott and the Texas National Guard and the Border Patrol agents who I think are paid money to do nothing, according to them. I believe Elon Musk was at the border recently interviewing some of these agents, and they're basically saying that they're hamstrung by the Biden administration. And so I don't actually know what the left-wing argument is for why these Border Patrol agents aren't doing anything. It could be that they need money. Their arguments for giving them money is always, we can't perform because you're not giving us enough money. By the way, if anybody says that, don't pay them more money. Very, very rarely will you get the performance that you're looking for if you've never seen it before for more money. The only time that that's an acceptable path to follow is if you've seen glimpses of the performance that you want, and you are paying your employee or something like that under market, then you can start paying them more. But do not let people tell you that lack of performance is due to underfunding when they've never performed. And that's typically the case of a government bureaucracy is we'll always say that we couldn't perform to our expectations because the Republicans or the conservatives or whatever country you live in being too cheap. So that's always fraud. Don't listen to it. Okay, so let's start cutting up this onion.
Dylan wants to know why it would have been bad for Tala to have gotten bad sleep when I had the flat on the side of the road.
Okay, so people are responding to this Twitter message that I sent as if it was like a crisis situation that we were gonna die in, like immediately. Clearly, if my girlfriend were being surrounded by crackheads, which may have happened if she stayed there for a couple hours longer, but you know, the stores were open. She was in a parking lot.
Yeah, it pulls over to a pretty safe area that was patrolled by cops.
Yeah, she was in a relatively, I mean, it's relatively safe. It's in the United States, so who knows, anything can happen with all the people coming across the border. But she was in a safe parking lot patrolled by policemen. But you know, it's Travis County, Texas, where you know the police have been defunded, and so.
Oh no, Williamson County. So yeah.
Okay, so it was in Williamson County.
So there was actual police, yeah.
Not as bad as Travis County. So it was in any event. She was not in Baghdad. She was not in Syria. She was not in San Francisco. We were trying to have our 4-year-old go to bed at her normal time, because when she doesn't go to bed at her normal time, she doesn't behave in school the next day, which happened anyway. But that was the outcome that we were trying to avoid. And so, you know, if I couldn't leave the house to make sure that if I couldn't leave her alone, I couldn't leave the house, right? Or if I left the house, I would have had to take her, but then her bedtime would have been pushed back, and she would have misbehaved further at school the next day.
Yeah, it would have been a lot of excitement.
Yes, too much going on. Okay, so this is getting hot. We're gonna pour. That's a lot of onions. Maybe you don't want to put that many onions in, but we like onions. So.
It looks so pretty.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll take this.
Oh, yeah. So Dylan says it's shaming people for having a bedtime. He thinks is bad, that people would make fun of him for having a bedtime growing up.
I would have made fun of you for having a bedtime growing up. I did not have a bedtime growing up. I was allowed to go to sleep whenever I wanted to.
Some people need it though.
Some people need it. Yeah, like our 4-year-old needs bedtime.
Yeah, she needs a lot of structure at night.
She would not go to bed until like 3 or 4 a.m. If she did not have a bedtime. So it really depends on the kid. You know, some kids get tired and they go to bed. Other kids don't. Okay, so we're gonna let these onions cook a little bit.
Asked if we share a bedtime.
We have a bedtime too. We don't have the same bedtime as our 4-year-old, but our bedtime is supposed to be 10 o'clock. Sometimes it slips. But we try to do 10 o'clock. Okay, so I think I missed a step. If I didn't tell you, this is in fact my first time doing this type of meat. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to try to sear all sides of this beef. So I'm going to let that cook. And we're going to be patient with that because we want to get a nice crispy sear on all sides. I'm going to, I guess we can use these tongs. Okay, so while we wait for this thing to sear, what I am going to start doing is I'm going to start open the red wine, because the red wine is a ingredient. I'm also going to be pretty patient for how long I'm going to let it get that sear, because we're not going to overcook it. This thing's going to need 3 to 4 hours in the oven. So I don't think that you're going to cook through your 3.2-pound steak just by getting it some massive sear. So just be patient with it, let that sit. And we're opening this free bottle of wine that we got from a nice hotel because the wine will be used in the sauce. All right.
There's a question, repeat it. Where did you get the beef, and how do the macros compare to ground beef?
Okay, where did I get the beef? I got this, I bought a half cow. I forget who I got the half cow from. This is like 2021 actually, so maybe 2022. So this half cow's been in my freezer, my deep freezer for like at least a year and a half. And so now we're getting down to the cuts that I've never cooked before. So I have to learn how to cook like Asian people where they value every piece of the cow possible. So looking at this meat, the reason why people don't eat this meat is it's very tough, and the reason why it's very tough is it's quite lean. There is a fat cap on it, and as I answer this question, I am going to start cutting the eyes out of these potatoes that I actually kindly washed before you guys all hopped on, because you guys don't really need to see me washing potatoes. Hopefully that's not anything that requires too much adult supervision. Okay, so the question is, how do the macros compare to ground beef? The answer would be that depends on the ground beef that you buy. So normal ground beef, you may not realize, normal ground beef has a lot of fat in it. Normal ground beef is in fact about as fatty as a ribeye. But then there's obviously lean ground beef. There's 97.3 ground beef. I think it's the leanest that is offered, and that's fairly lean ground beef. So without Googling, and you can Google me to check me, even though my experience Googling the nutrition data on beef in particular is highly dubious. I don't actually trust the protein content that Google or the USDA tells me exists in certain beef cuts, because it's very, it's not consistent with my expectations, in the sense that it says like New York strip steak has more protein than chicken, like white chicken, which I find very hard to believe given how lean white chicken is. It says like brisket or certain cuts like skirt steak have over 100 grams per pound. I just think that's a lot. I love those cuts. I just think that the data on that's not correct. Okay, so that's the sear that we've been looking for on
Starting to smell good.
On that front side, and you guys realized I just listened for that, so I could just tell the sound. That was exactly what I was going for. We're gonna spin this thing around just because we might actually need a little bit more oil on this to get this simmer the way we want it to. Simmer was the wrong word, by the way. I meant sear. Okay.
Dylan was asking about horse meat, if you've ever tried it.
Horse meat. What do you mean horse meat? This is
horse.
Oh, horse meat. No, I have never eaten horse meat. I've been to France a few times. France is actually
It should be normalized in the U.S.
the country that I have visited the most outside the U.S. because I do. Je peux parler français. La majorité des personnes de Twitter, de X, je ne sais pas. Que je peux parler français, mais ma cuisine habite au Paris, ma mère parle français, and what I've been saying is I can actually speak French okay. Not as well as I can speak Spanish, not as well as I can speak English, but well enough so that I've been trying to tell my girlfriend that if we really want to stop working, then we just need to get to a $3 million net worth, and then we can move to Morocco and learn how to speak French and live off of $2,000 a month indefinitely, and not have to worry about gender ideology destroying the livelihoods of children. So that's on the table, whether she realizes it or not. French is not that hard of a language to learn if you speak Spanish. And I'll just keep saying that until everybody in my family speaks French. So, horse meat, I've never eaten horse meat. I don't imagine it would taste great. I also don't imagine it would, it probably tastes like venison or elk, if I had to guess. A little bit gamier. And so I would imagine that, maybe you'd have to cook some horse bone marrow with it or something like that to make it actually be delicious. So this is my first time also cooking these little potatoes. I can't say that, they're good from an aesthetic standpoint. I can't say that they're the best investment.
I don't think you need to take all of those out.
You don't think I need to take them out? My girlfriend doesn't think I need to take the eyes out, but since when do you not need to take eyes out of potatoes? I think you need to take eyes out of potatoes. And so there's a low surface area to volume ratio on these, which means I'm spending a lot of time taking out the imperfections of these potatoes. Maybe I don't need to, but at the same time, it's going to take a long time to braise or to sear all 6 sides of this big-ass chunk of beef while we talk about the insane border crisis that we are dealing with. So, gives us something to do to kill the time. All right, so.
How close are we to 3 million net worth is a question.
How close are we to 3 million net worth? It really depends on, I bought all these scratcher tickets. You guys know the few books I sold these last couple of years ago. Pussies and scratcher tickets. 3 million net worth would require meaningful growth in net worth, but not something that, I say if things go well over a 5-year period, it's not impossible to get there. Or if I just, want to say fuck it and go YOLO on some shit coins and we do well, then, perhaps a few get there sooner. But, so, let's see. What the fuck is happening at the border? All right. So I think a lot of people don't realize that I don't think Abbott is prohibited from putting this barbed wire up. I just think the federal government has the permission to take it down. And so the Supreme Court ruled that the federal government can take it down, sure, but that doesn't mean that it's politically expedient to. A lot of times it's not considered nice for the federal government to follow the laws. Okay, so this is searing it all nice and papa-like. That's a great sear that we got on that one side. So we're going to flip it. We're going to put these onions that were on the bottom, we're going to put those on the top. We're actually going to move them off a little bit to the side because I think you're probably supposed to sear this. See, I learn these things as I go. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to sear this thing first and then put it off to the side. Well, fuck it. What difference does it make? These onions at the bottom might be a little bit mushy by the time we eat them, but you know what? They just provide flavor anyway. You don't have to eat them. And the purpose of them is really just to make the meat taste good. Good. All right. So I'm going to keep cutting. See, we don't want that shit in our braised beef. Gross. My girlfriend gets mad at me for peeing on the ground, and she somehow thinks that it's okay for me to put these gross in these potatoes in my body. I just think that that's a poor use of limited bites that can be taken on meals. So I think it's equally gross. All right, what's happening at the border? So I think that all of these Republican governors.
Oh, and Biden gave the deadline today for Texas to remove them.
Oh,
did you hear that?
You're going to put them on timeout? So that's not going to happen, by the way.
I don't think they can hear what I said.
Oh, okay. My girlfriend had said that Biden gave the deadline of today to remove them. Pretty sure that's not going to happen, given Greg Abbott said yesterday, if not the day before, that they're going to keep doing it. So they will not be removed. And then, I don't know what that's going to mean. Does that mean Biden's going to try? I don't even know if because you can't retaliate and then just withhold funding for other reasons.
Oh, well, what he did was he stopped LNG exports
Oh, okay.
from
So-
Texas,
so Biden
primarily from
stopped
Texas.
LNG exports, but then I'm
So
fairly
that's going to
sure-
hurt the Texas economy.
Yeah, but I'm fairly sure that it's illegal to punitively make decisions like this to punish individual states for their disobedience. And it's very possible that that could be struck down in court, or it could be ignored. And Texas could, like,
Continue to export.
yeah, basically, like, so the thing that people don't understand about the court system is that the court system can't handle 50 million lawsuits at the same time. And so if like, the real way that you would declare war on the federal government is if you fund all of your citizens to file lawsuits against the federal government can't, like, all of the courts would stop working.
Well, they would prioritize the ones that were important.
All right, it's getting a little bit brown at the bottom, so I don't know if that's supposed to happen this early in the game. Probably doesn't matter because we're gonna throw a bunch of beef on there anyway. All right, so. All right, so we do that. So we got 2 more sides that we need to sear. And then we're gonna quarter this onion. Yeah, so is Biden going to try to just punish the Texas economy?
Yes.
Well, okay, so if he tries to punish the Texas economy, then what's Texas going to do? They're just going to start rounding up these illegals and sending them to D.C. They're going to send them directly to D.C. Perhaps send them to the White House to protest or to show everybody who they are. So this can get pretty spicy. If it doesn't get shut down, and I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see. Abbott's not going to back down. What I actually think is going to happen is I think there's going to be a false flag attack because the only thing that can save the federal government, help the federal government save face right now, is like a false flag attack, some fake Klansmen or something like that, attacking illegal immigrants and blaming it on the violent rhetoric that they'll say is violent. I'm not saying it's violent, but they're going to say, all of this dangerous rhetoric coming from all these insurrectionist states. And so you can expect the language that they've used, all the language that they use about their dissidents doesn't have anything to do with like how bad the behavior of their dissidents is, and it has everything to do with the fact that people disagree with them. So if you actually pay attention to like how the media uses language, the media is just going to portray anybody who goes against the regime as the most extremist action possible, because that's how propaganda works. That's how they've shifted the overton window increasingly to the left, is by positioning anybody who's to the right of like Mao Zedong as, Pinochet or something like that. And so pay attention to the propaganda wars that will continue to be fought around this particular issue. And then, keep a heads up for false flags. I do believe that we are primed for a false flag attack. If you look at how the polls are trending, Biden's not doing well in the polls. So, I don't think that, they're going to try to pull a rabbit out of the hat. They're going to hope for another George Floyd or something like this to make everybody forget how evil they are and try to turn Americans against each other when there's, fairly strong opposition to what's happening. Okay, that's great. All right, so we're gonna re-sear the bottom of this here, just because I didn't sear that well. And then what we're gonna do with these potatoes is we're actually not gonna put them in the stew in the first couple hours. We are going to put them on in the end because they're gonna get too mushy if we try to put them on in the beginning. So we're gonna put that stew in the oven for a few hours, and we're gonna put the potatoes in for like the last 40 minutes of that.
Another question. What do you think of Vivek, and what do I think of Vivek?
Okay, Vivek, very smart guy. I didn't trust him to start. I still don't know if I trust him now. I do think he's the smartest candidate in ways that intelligence can be measured. You can't actually measure the intelligence of Trump because he's good at things that so few people are good at. Like, he's very good. Trump is incredibly good at shit-talking and taunting and belittling people. And you might say, oh, ha, 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 no, it's like that's a real thing. That's actually a skill that's necessary to fight the media. Vivek is very good at doing that as well, but he does it more professionally. Trump has the ability to sway crowds more than Vivek does. Vivek has the ability to sway intellectuals more than Trump does. And so I think they could make a potentially good pair. I think Vivek, there's a chance he could be an effective president. I still don't trust him. Because the way he talks like, all right, we're going to put this on side 5 right now. Vivek talks like a little bit of a con artist. And, you know, like I've worked in Silicon Valley for a while, and here's the thing, is like, Vivek's a smart guy. It's hard to understand how people smarter than you are taking advantage of you, because you can't understand the playing field that they see. So he's a very smart guy, right? His IQ is probably as high as mine, maybe higher than mine. I don't know what's going on in his mind. Okay, so I don't know how he might lie or manipulate his way through things, because whatever it is he does is probably quite sophisticated. That being said, I trust him over any other con artist in the field, even though, you know, the person who has the best chance of getting elected is Trump, right? So, you know, my vote will be going for Trump. And frankly, I think he's our only hope. Now, if Trump's in prison by the time the election comes, you know, then the GOP is going to have some deciding to do. I don't know who would run in a situation like that.
Nikki Haley, that's how come she's still running.
Hopefully, it would not be Nikki Haley. But maybe that's what her thinking is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I also don't know that Trump. So the Georgia people, like, I don't know if Trump's going to get in trouble in Georgia just because it appears that the DA was spending prosecution monies on hooking up with a little affair guy while prosecuting Trump. So unclear how that's going to go. Okay, so what we're going to do as this last side cooks,
I like Vivek too, and I liked him before he started to run. He was making lots of appearances on CNBC, and that was when Bill Ackman started tweeting about how he thinks that Vivek could be like the new voice of the Republican Party, and I think that's what encouraged Vivek to run.
if you guys can hear my little
He can, yeah, he can hear. They can hear.
Oh, okay. She likes Vivek for the reasons that you just said. Okay, so we're going to throw a little bit of parsley on here. We're going to throw a little bit of thyme on here. We'll throw a little bit of rosemary on here. We're going to let this, see, all the pros would have told you that you sear the beef first before doing what I'm doing right now, but here's the deal. It would have taken you way longer. We're cutting steps out and it's going to taste just as good because we don't need to have the entire Dutch oven available for searing. Okay. I like where we're at right now. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, wonderful. Probably get a little bit more sear on that first side. Stir this for just a little bit longer. Okay. Now we're going to get just a little bit more of the sear on this side. And hold that up. Okay, so next steps at the border. Biden is threatening to send Greg Abbott to his room. I don't know if that's going to work out that well. I actually think the fact that Greg Abbott is in a wheelchair actually plays fairly well to him, for him in today's modern woke, woke landscape.
No, that's a real disability. The ones that are prioritized are fake ones.
Right, well, okay, that's fine, but it's not like they're going to physically fight. So, okay, now that we have all sides seared, we're going to place the seared beef on top. I'm going to turn this off. You shouldn't touch that with your fingers, it's really hot. All right, so we're going to take the bone broth that we cooked in the pressure cooker, slow cooker last night. We're going to pour it in. Okay, we're going to take the wine. You can use cooking wine, table wine, we're using real wine, but we don't really drink wine. We're going to pour the wine in. And you could put some tomato paste in there and garlic. We skipped those because my girlfriend's allergic to both of them. And then what we're going to do right now is we're going to put onions on all sides. Get your phone out so I can take a picture of, well, I'll take a picture at the end, I guess. Okay, so we got that. Yeah, okay. If you want to do that, that's great. We'll put a little bit more seasoning on. And then one thing I forgot to mention that I'm going to do, or I did mention I'm going to do it, but I forgot to do it, is I'm going to cook it with the fat on the upside, because my hope is that's going to help tenderize the meat. Okay, so we can close this up. We're going to place this in the oven for about 3 hours. Before we do that, we'll move the oven rack. Space to do it in. All right, so we'll check this at about 4:53. And I'll let you know, but I'm pretty sure that Chef Alex doesn't miss. When you have an intuitive feel for cooking, and you get the cold thing on the hot thing for about the right amount of time.
We'll do updated videos.
I'll send an updated video on Twitter.
Yeah.
Right? I'll eat it. We're going to have this for dinner.
When you put the potatoes
We're
in.
going to throw the potatoes in with about 40 minutes or so left. So we're going to throw the potatoes in at 4:15. And then it should be done at about 4:55 Central Time. Thank you for tuning in. As always, Chef Alex doesn't miss. Thank you for your questions. See you next time.